The Cathara Imperium had conquered 14 star systems in as many cycles, their warbeasts leading every charge. The creatures were magnificent terrors, 12 feet of crystalline scales and plasma breath, bred for millennia to be the perfect weapons. Nothing in the known galaxy could stand against them. Nothing, except the small blue world in the Terran sector that the Imperium had foolishly dismissed as primitives with projectile weapons. Admiral Zexton stood before the massive containment field, watching the newest addition to his collection pace restlessly behind the energy barrier. The Terran vessel had been destroyed easily enough, but this lone survivor, this human, had done something unprecedented. "Show me again," Zexton commanded his subordinate. The holographic display flickered to life, replaying the moment that had sent shockwaves through the Imperium's military doctrine. The human prisoner, barely reaching Zexton's shoulder and wearing primitive fabric clothing, had been thrown into the Warbeast pit as entertainment. Standard procedure: watch the inferior species get torn apart, then move on to the next world. But the Warbeast, designation Zamor the Unbreakable, had stopped mid-charge. In the recording, the human stood perfectly still as 2 tons of engineered death bore down on him. No weapons, no armor, no technology that their scanners could detect. Just a slight tilt of his head and something that looked almost like recognition. Then the impossible happened. The human had whispered something, the audio pickups hadn't caught it, and Zamor had lowered his massive head. The creature, that had never shown submission to anything, not even its Cathara handlers, had bowed to this primitive biped. "Analysis?" Zexton demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. The human exhibits no psionic abilities, no technological implants, no bioengineered modifications. By all accounts, he should be dead. Instead," the aide gestured helplessly at the display, showing the human now sitting calmly beside the Warbeast, one hand resting on its armored snout. Zexton's 4 eyes narrowed. "Bring me the human. I want answers." The containment field deactivated with a hum, and guards flanked the entrance as the human walked out. He moved with an easy confidence that irritated Zexton. No fear, no deference to his obvious superiors. Up close, the human looked even more unremarkable. Brown hair, brown eyes, skin that showed signs of solar radiation damage. Completely ordinary. "You will explain what you did to my Warbeast," Zexton declared, in his most commanding tone. The human looked up at him with what might have been amusement. "Your Warbeast? Zamor has been bred for war across 30 generations. It knows only violence and obedience to the Imperium. Yet it submitted to you? How?" The human glanced back at the massive creature, which was watching their interaction with intelligent eyes. "His name isn't Zamor. Designation Zamor is—" "His name," the human interrupted, "is what his mother called him before you took him from his clutch, before you filled his head with combat algorithms and pain conditioning, before you turned a thinking, feeling being into a weapon." Zexton's translator struggled with some of the human's words. "Feeling? It is a tool, a weapon. It has no—" "No what? No emotions? No memories? No dreams?" The human stepped closer, and despite being half Zexton's size, something in his presence made the Admiral take a step back. "You see a Warbeast. I see someone who's been hurt and shaped into something he was never meant to be. Someone who remembers what it felt like to play, to explore, to be curious about the world around. Him. Impossible. The conditioning. Your conditioning works on fear and pain, but you can't condition away the deepest parts of what someone is." The human's voice carried an odd quality, not threatening, but absolutely certain. "You want to know what I whispered to him? I told him he was good. I told him he was brave. I told him he didn't have to fight anymore if he didn't want to." The Admiral's combat computer cataloged 17 different ways to kill this insolent primitive, but something held him back. The Warbeasts have conquered entire civilizations. They are scared children with claws and armor, the human said quietly. Just like the Cathara who send them to die instead of finding better ways to solve problems. From behind them came a sound Zexton had never heard before, a deep, thrumming noise from Zamor's throat. Not a growl or roar, but something almost musical. "He's singing," the human explained. "It's something his species does when they're happy, when they feel safe. Your xenobiology reports probably don't mention that because you never gave them a chance to feel safe." Zexthon looked at his perfect weapon, bred and trained to be unstoppable, making sounds of contentment. "This changes nothing. The Imperium will take your world regardless." The human nodded sadly. "Maybe, but you won't be using enslaved children to do it. Not anymore. You think one human can—" "I think," the human said, walking back toward Zamor, "that you've never fought anyone who understood that your weapons are people. People who've been waiting their whole lives for someone to tell them they matter more than the wars they're forced to fight." He placed his hand on the Warbeast's snout again, and the creature's eyes closed in what looked remarkably like relief. "The galaxy's a big place, Admiral. Lots of room for everyone if you're willing to share instead of conquer." Zexthon watched in growing unease as other containment fields around the ship began to flicker. His tactical display showed similar scenes throughout the fleet. Warbeasts across 17 vessels were becoming calm, docile, not broken or defeated, but peaceful. "What are you?" he whispered. The human looked up at him with those ordinary brown eyes that somehow saw too much. "Just someone who believes that everyone deserves kindness, even you, Admiral. Even when you don't think you do." As alarms began blaring throughout the ship, Zexthon realized that the Imperium's greatest weapons had never been their technology, or their warbeasts. They had always been fear and isolation, the belief that conquest was the only path to security. The humans, it seemed, offered something far more dangerous: hope. And hope, once shared, was impossible to contain.